She said it like she was talking about the weather. "We should be clear," she said, cutting her chicken slowly. "I make more money now. That means I should have more say." The fork paused in his hand. The room stayed quiet. The clock kept ticking. No anger, no raised voice. Just that sentence sitting between them on the table. He looked at her face, waiting for a smile, a joke, anything to soften it. Nothing came. She kept eating, calm, certain. Something inside him cracked, but it made no sound. It felt like a bone breaking deep under the skin. He nodded once. He didn't trust his voice. Stick with me. They had shared this table for years. Cheap meals, late laughs, plans spoken softly after long days. Now the air felt heavier, like gravity had changed and only he could feel it. He noticed how she didn't ask what he thought, how the sentence wasn't discussion, just a statement. He swallowed his food. It tasted like nothing. In his chest. Something folded in on itself. Not anger, not sadness, more like a door closing very slowly. He didn't know yet what that soundless break would cost him, but the room would never feel the same again. Before everything changed, life was quiet and steady. Not rich, not poor, just enough. They woke up at the same time every morning. Coffee brewed while the shower ran. Shoes waited by the door like they always had. Bills were paid on time. The fridge was never empty. They laughed at small things. Bad jokes. Old stories they had told too many times. On weekends, they watched shows half asleep on the couch. Legs tangled, phones forgotten. It felt safe, predictable, good. But small things began to shift. She checked her phone more during conversations. When he spoke, she sometimes nodded without really listening. Decisions that used to be shared started getting made before he even knew there was a choice. It was subtle, easy to ignore. He told himself he was imagining it. When he talked about work, her questions grew shorter. When he came home tired, she didn't ask why anymore. Respect didn't disappear. It thinned, like air slowly leaving a room. Nothing was broken yet. No fights, no harsh words. Just a quiet feeling that the balance was changing. He held on to the routine, believing order meant safety. He didn't know how fragile it already was. The email arrived in the middle of the morning. Short, polite, final. His position was no longer needed. "Thank you for your time." He stared at the screen, waiting for a mistake to appear. It didn't. An hour later, his desk was empty. A cardboard box held his mug, a framed photo. Some papers he didn't need anymore. No one made eye contact. A few quick handshakes. Then he was outside, the building already forgetting him. The drive home was silent. The radio stayed off. Traffic lights changed. People crossed the street. Life kept moving like nothing had happened. His phone stayed face down on the seat. At home, he told her in one sentence. She didn't panic. She didn't hug him. She asked how long his savings would last, how much rent was due, what he planned to do next. Her voice was calm, careful, distant, like she was solving a problem, not talking to someone she loved. That night, numbers filled his head. Bills, groceries, time. The weight of money pressed down on his chest. She went to bed early, laptop still open. He sat alone in the dark, holding the box, feeling smaller than he ever had before. Weeks passed. Her paycheck grew. Bonuses, praise, late meetings that sounded important. His savings moved in the opposite direction. Numbers went down slowly, then faster. He checked his account more than he checked the time. Their talks changed. She didn't ask what he wanted anymore. She told him what made sense, what was smart, what they could afford. When he disagreed, she sighed like he was wasting time. She paid the bills now. She reminded him of it without saying the words. A raised eyebrow, a pause, a quiet look when he spent money on anything that wasn't necessary. Love didn't leave. It changed shape. Hugs became shorter. Kisses felt planned. Affection came after he tried harder, spoke softer, agreed faster. Respect faded into patience, then into tolerance. When friends asked about him, she answered for him. When decisions came up, they were already made. He found himself asking permission for things that used to be normal. At night, She worked on her laptop in bed. The screen's light cut across his face while he stared at the ceiling. He felt like a guest in his own life. He learned to stay quiet. Quiet costs less, and it was expected. It happened on an ordinary evening. She was in the shower, water running steady, steam fogging the mirror. Her phone lay on the table, screen lighting up softly with each message. He didn't mean to look. It buzzed again. A name he didn't recognize appeared. Then a second message. Short, familiar, too close. He picked up the phone. His hands didn't shake. The reflection of his face stared back at him from the dark screen between messages. Calm, empty. The words were clear. Plans, jokes, a tone she no longer used with him. There were no explanations needed. No guessing. Just truth sitting there, fully dressed. In the bathroom mirror, he saw her shape move behind the glass, blurred by steam. Two versions of his life existed at the same time. One behind the door, one in his hand. The shower turned off. He placed the phone back exactly where it had been. Aligned it carefully. When she walked out, wrapped in a towel, she smiled at him. He nodded back. The moment passed. Inside, something settled. Not anger, not shock, confirmation. That night, they slept in the same bed. The ceiling looked the same. Her breathing sounded normal. Everything was clear now. Nothing needed to be said. The divorce papers arrived quietly. No shouting, no fight. Just a stamped envelope, heavy with finality. He signed, handed them back, and left the office without looking up. Weeks later, he saw him. Not on the street, not in passing. At a small gathering they both attended. She was smiling, leaning close to someone new. A man in a tailored suit, polished shoes, a watch that gleamed under the light. Rich, confident, everything he wasn't anymore. Then came the invitation. White card, gold letters, edges sharp. Their names printed side by side. But not his, only hers and the new man's. A wedding, a public announcement of the life that had replaced him. He didn't yell. He didn't argue. He didn't cry. He folded the card neatly, put it in his pocket, and walked past it. The laughter inside the house reached the sidewalk, warm and careless. He passed the windows, looked in, saw her happiness, and felt the emptiness that had replaced his own. No one knew the weight in his chest. No one noticed his silence. He said nothing. He simply turned away, carrying the proof of his loss with quiet, precise restraint. He lived in a small room with thin walls and one window that barely let light in. A mattress on the floor, a chair, a table with scratches he didn't remember making. Most of his things were gone because they didn't fit or didn't matter. The fridge was often empty. Sometimes just water and an old jar sauce. He ate simple food, the same thing every day, not because he liked it, but because it was enough. Nights were the hardest. No TV, no music, just the sound of traffic far away and pipes knocking inside the walls. Silence sat with him, heavy and close. He stopped checking messages. No one was waiting. His phone stayed dark. Time moved slowly, like it was dragging its feet. Doubt followed him everywhere. In the morning, in the shower, when he lay awake staring at the ceiling. He questioned every choice, every step that led him here. There was no anger left, no dreams, no plans, just getting through the next hour. Then the next. He woke up, ate, searched for work, slept, again and again. Survival became the goal. Nothing more. In the quiet, he disappeared, and the silence stayed. He started working at night. The apartment was dark, only a single lamp glowing over his desk. No one noticed, no one asked, no one cared. It didn't matter. He had a skill he had never fully used before. It was quiet work, numbers, designs, coding, little things that added up slowly. He repeated the same tasks over and over, not for praise, not for attention, just to keep moving, just to create something that belonged only to him. Days blurred together. Sleep came in short, stolen fragments. His hands hurt. His eyes burned. He ate little, thought less. The world outside went on, parties, weddings, promotions, laughter, but he didn't look. He didn't need to. Each night he improved. Each small success stacked quietly on the last. No one watched. No one applauded. Discipline was his only companion. Exhaustion his teacher. Sometimes he paused and looked at what he had built. Nothing shiny, nothing obvious. But it was his. Solid. Real. Something no one could take away. The hidden turning point was not sudden. It was invisible, unnoticed. But with every silent hour, every repeated task, every quiet struggle, he was changing. He was becoming someone the world could not ignore. One evening, a message arrived. Not flashy, not urgent. Just someone noticing the work he had poured hours into, nights spent alone, unnoticed. A mentor. A quiet man who had seen potential, who offered advice and connections without fuss, without praise. He met him once in a small office. Papers stacked neatly, sunlight cutting through the blinds. No speeches, no promises. Just a look at his work, a nod and a suggestion. That was enough. Opportunities followed slowly, one by one. Small contracts, careful clients, doors that opened just wide enough to step through. Nothing rushed, nothing forced. He learned to move with patience, to build quietly, steadily, without needing anyone's approval. Money came not in sudden windfalls, but in steady growth, enough to feel control again, enough to feel the air lighter, not heavier. Respect followed naturally, the kind that wasn't spoken, but felt in the way people listened when he entered a room, the way decisions bent subtly in his direction. He didn't boast. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. Power was no longer about anger or confrontation. It was quiet, calm, undeniable. For the first time in years, he felt solid beneath his feet, unshakable and unseen no more. The hall was full of laughter and music, flowers spilling from every corner, light reflecting off polished floors. He walked in quietly, unnoticed at first, carrying nothing but himself. She saw him immediately. Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second, almost invisible under the glow of chandeliers. The man beside her, handsome and confident, didn't notice. He didn't speak. He didn't look around. He moved calmly, each step measured, eyes forward. People parted naturally, sensing something different in the air, though no one could say why. He stood near the back, watching, not with anger, not with longing, just presence, a calm certainty that filled the space more than any music, more than any decoration, more than the vowels being whispered a few meters away. She glanced again, her expression tightening. The weight of all she had done, all that had passed, pressed into that single moment. He nodded once, almost imperceptibly, and turned slightly, not to leave, not to confront, just to exist. No words, no scenes, just him, calm and untouchable. And in that silence, the room shifted. Everything said, everything understood. He walked away. She never saw him again.